So Christine's going to wrap things up for us today. So please welcome the amazing Christine Lutley from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Take it away, Christine.
Thanks, Sharla. I want to thank all of the speakers who came before me. My first coach was Bob Proctor, and I met Bob way back in the 90s before The Secret, and from him I was able to leave my toxic marriage and move myself to Hawaii. I got a job offer and a visa sponsor, and I managed to live there for 23 years. So I consider that all from the work I did with Bob. So that was the best dollars I ever spent in my life. I'm doing something quite different right now. I'm working with women who have chronic pain and fibromyalgia. And the reason I'm doing that is that even though I was in Hawaii doing what I love, I did have an experience that shook my world. And I didn't quite know why. Anyway, I ended up anxious, depressed, and in severe pain. So I was eventually diagnosed with fibromyalgia. It stopped me in my tracks, and I was work disabled from it for 20 years. And I am in the grandma in the group today. I am 68, and I am feeling ever so much better now than I did when I crashed at 44. So I lost the what should have been the most productive years of my career to illness. And the problem with chronic pain and fibromyalgia is that it's deemed to be incurable. Medicine tells us that there's nothing that they can do. It's incurable, and we're stuck with it. There's, because of that, a lot of negativity around it with doctors, with healthcare providers, with anybody who is dealing with the problems. And so there's just this weight of, we're never going to get better. It's going to get worse. There's all kinds of misinformation. And because of all that stuff that's happening, we forget who we really are. And that's the message that has been repeated here so many times today, is that we are spiritual beings and we have power. And in the case of people in chronic pain, and especially fibromyalgia, we've given our power away to our doctors because, again, we've been conditioned that they're the ones who deal with health problems, and health problems are supposed to be cured. And normally we expect, a pill or some kind of a treatment that's just going to make things go away and do that quickly. Well, unfortunately, that's not the reality of chronic pain, chronic fatigue, any of those illnesses. And I managed finally to get well, and I documented all of the things that I did to accomplish that. And much of it being in Hawaii, I studied spirituality, psychology, and healing modalities. And so I was applying all kinds of different ones, and nothing was working. And I kept hearing all of these messages that fibromyalgia is the worst thing that could happen to you. And yet you hear that on the one side, and yet other people would not believe that there's really anything wrong with you, that it's in your head. And my answer to them is no, the problem is not in our heads. We feel this in our bodies. It's definitely not in our heads. However, we can use our heads to work our way out of it. And as everyone else has said today, mindset is so, so important in doing this. We need to get at the limiting conditioned beliefs that we absorbed in the first 7 years of our lives. And in my particular instance, what happened to me, and the reason I had so many ups and downs in my life, is that I was sexually abused when I was only 4. And I dissociated, so I didn't know it. My abuser, when I finally recalled the information with EMDR when I was 60 at the time that I recalled that. So it took me 56 years to find out what happened to me. And it was disgusting. So we're not going there. But the fact is it jolted me enough that it affected all of my life, even though I had no idea that it happened. It just was not in my consciousness. However, it was all through my body. And every time I would have an unpleasant sexual experience, whether it was sexual harassment at work, or difficulty. I was in an abusive marriage, so that pushed those buttons. But the last button that was pushed was because of just a simple sexual harassment. It wasn't that bad, but it was the button. It was like, you're not taking this anymore. Like my soul just said, that's it, enough. We're not escaping for this anymore. You got to stop. And it stopped me by making me sick. And so what we don't pay attention to is that there are a lot of traumas, a lot of conditioned stuff that's in there that we're totally unaware of. So it's not that it matters that you remember a trauma, but when these traumas happen, we form all kinds of beliefs about ourselves because of them. And so I learned to believe that there was something wrong with me, because he told me to be quiet, to not tell my parents because they would be mad. At 4 years old, the only assumption I could make was that they would be mad at me. It didn't occur to me that they would be mad at anyone else. So I took that with me, and it lived in my body and made me sick. And the problem is, it is happening with millions of women around the world. And it's a huge problem. It's not curable through medicine, but we can learn to heal ourselves. We need to face what has happened to us and go through a process where we grieve our losses, where we deal with our fears, where we create these dreams. The dream that Bob Proctor, the method that he taught is the exact method that I use in my training to help women to make a dream and reinforce it daily with visualization and emotion, so that it's giving you something to live for while you're processing through creating healthy new habits, becoming more connected with your spirit. While we're doing all of this work, it's happening while we're in parallel working towards our dream. So it's a very effective system. It took years before I figured it out, but when I did, it just clicked. And within months, my energy was back full, and I was going from sleeping more hours a day than I was awake to being perfectly able to spend 16 hours working and productive and feeling good. So what I want to tell people who are in pain, who are suffering, who are miserable, who are feeling that they need, that they only wish that people would listen to them, that there are people out here who do understand what you're going through. And there are things that you can do to get better, whether or not medicine ever comes up with a cure, because we don't need a cure because we're not broken. We just need to reprogram ourselves to be healthy and whole, to be happy. We need to understand that all of that is in us, in the spirit. And my program has a 4-body system that says that in order to have this earthly experience, our spirit needs to have a physical body, a conscious mind, a subconscious mind, and an energetic body. And there's approaches that I take that help to work on each of these levels. And there is, just know that there is something that can be done to help you end this horrible pain. You don't need to stay in constant fatigue. It's not your fault. It wasn't my fault. That doesn't change the fact that it happened and it shouldn't have. However, it did. We move on. I'm very grateful to be away from it. I'm very grateful to be in a place where I can now help others. And I invite you to come to my website, which is FibroCoach.Online, and I'll put that in the chat, or contact me at my email, Christine@ChristineLutley.com. I'll also put that in the chat. And just know there is hope. You do not have to be stuck with pain for the rest of your life. Whether other people tell you or do or not, the only thing that matters is what you believe in all of this. It doesn't matter what other people are telling you. It's your beliefs, it's your spirit. Bring all of it back to you. We tend to let parts of it evaporate to the different, we give it away. We give our power away. That in essence is giving our spirit away. Call it all back in, get strong and get better. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Sharla. I thoroughly enjoyed the day. I was terrified to do this. This is the first time I've given a speech in over 25 years. And it was a little scary, and it's been a lot of fun.
You did a fantastic job, Christine. Thank you so much for sharing.